Okay, so I'm going to show you how to come up with a few story pitches just off the news release that comes out monthly for the employment, unemployment, jobs report, whatever you'd like to call it. This is the San Diego Chula Vista Carlsbad report from the California Employment Development Department. It comes out the third Friday of every month, and the state releases it for every region in California. But you could do this for anywhere that has an employment development department, any state, because looking at the data is exactly the same. So first off, this is the main page where they do a bunch of summary numbers and things like that. I typically would ignore that. You can see that the jobs, the non-farm payroll jobs are up 16,700 over the year. That's a good headline. Over the month, we don't really pay attention to because the data is not seasonally adjusted. And what I mean by that is an example would be looking at comparing months like December to January. Well, in December, there's a lot of employment because of holiday shopping. In January, a lot of people get laid off because the holiday season is over. And so, because of that, you don't want to compare those 2 months if you're just looking at employment, unemployment. So, that's why the data is not seasonally adjusted. The way to solve that is to look year over year. So, typically, what I would do if I was an economics reporter is scroll all the way down to the third page where they have the data. So let's say I wanted to do a story on retail hiring. You can go down and look at this payroll employment number. And again, remember year over year, so June 2025 to June 2026. And I would say, let's go find retail trade. So I'm looking down, and here you have retail. You can even go down to department stores, health care, personal care retailers, clothing accessory stores. But for the purposes of this, let's look at retail trade. So we can see that in June of 2025, the retail trade had 134,000 workers in San Diego County. In June 2026, it was 134,600, which is not much. It's 0.4% gain year over year. If you compare that to all of the other non-farm hiring, it's down from the 1.1% growth. So it's growing slower than the rest of the job market. So I could look at that piece of data and then go to my news editorial meeting and say, I'm going to pitch you a story on why retail trade hiring is lagging. Why are retailers not hiring? So I've got the public data, and now I would just go find a retailer. I'd go to a little part of town where there's local shops, people that would be willing to talk to me, and I'd say, hey, is buying down? Is it slow? Are you hiring? Why or why not? And I'd paint the story around them, tying it to this data. Let's go to another field. Let's look at hotels. So leisure and hospitality. That one, 206,400 in June 2025 to 213,700. That includes restaurants and hotels. So if you wanted to go even closer, you'd look at hotels. 32,200 to 32,800, 1.9%. So that's growing a little faster than the average. And if you look at restaurants, so food services, that is up 3.2%, so growing well. If I wanted to do that story, I'd go to a restaurant and try to interview a manager or a bartender. Or if I wanted to do the hotels, I'd go find a local hotel and ask them how things are going. And I would paint the story around them, ask them about hiring, where are the opportunities, and paint it to this data. So those are just two ways to do it, but you can go pretty much anywhere with this data because it comes from payroll. So it comes directly from employers that are reporting who they've hired. So you can see some are down, like credit intermediation. Perhaps that is because interest rates are high. People aren't buying homes. I don't know. So let's just go up before I end this. I want to talk to you about the unemployment rate because there's two sets of data. There's the payroll data, which comes from employers, and then there's the survey, which comes from phone calls. And if you look at this a little more closely, you'll see that in June 25, the unemployment rate for San Diego County was 4.7%. And in June 26, it's 4.4%. So you're like, oh, well, that's really good. People are getting jobs. Well, that's not exactly true because if you look a little closer, look at the labor force. The labor force is everybody who's working or who isn't working and wants a job. So employment and unemployment, and is actively looking for a job, by the way. Not wants a job, actively looking. So in June 25, 1,663,600 in the labor force in San Diego County. June 26, 1,640,500. So 23,000 people are out of the labor force. That means they either lost their job or they were looking but they gave up and they are no longer looking. When the labor force is smaller, the unemployment rate goes down. So if you were to look at this, you would say the unemployment rate is down, but it's not for the reasons that economists want to see. So there's 3 story pitches right there that I could do. For the last one, I would probably just go try to find somebody looking for a job and ask them how it's going, paint the story around them, or find somebody who isn't looking for a job anymore. I could go to a park, I could go to a sidewalk, I could go to the EDD office and stand outside and see if I could find a job seeker coming in. So there's all sorts of ways to do this. And here's 3 story pitches you just got from this press release. And by the way to find that is to Google EDD LMI and then your region. LMI stands for Labor Market Information. Okay, hope that helped.